All right, so today we're diving into something that's probably already on your mind.
Oh, yeah.
Chocolate.
Mm.
I know it might seem like a pretty light topic,
Yeah.
but getting ready for this episode
Mhm.
really made me realize there's a whole world of fascinating stuff swirling around this seemingly simple treat.
Yeah, it's true. Chocolate is definitely more than just a sweet indulgence, I think.
Exactly.
It's like a cultural phenomenon with a surprisingly deep history
Right.
and, a powerful ability to evoke memories and emotions.
Yeah, and that's what we're going to get into today.
All right.
We're going to be using an IELTS Prep podcast episode as our main source today.
Okay.
And while you might not be prepping for an English exam right now,
Right.
the way this episode breaks down how to talk about chocolate actually reveals a lot about its cultural significance.
Yeah, for sure. And the podcast really focuses on helping test takers answer questions about chocolate during the speaking exam.
Mm,
And that alone is interesting because it suggests that examiners see chocolate as a universally relatable topic,
that's true.
something almost everyone has an experience with.
Yeah. I mean, who doesn't love chocolate?
Exactly.
But the IELTS podcast hosts, they really emphasize giving detailed descriptive answers.
Oh, yeah.
Going beyond just saying milk chocolate is my favorite.
For sure. For sure. They actually coach the student to include sensory details,
Oh, wow.
like describing the melt-in-your-mouth texture of milk chocolate
Mhm.
or connecting it to a specific scenario like reaching for a bar as a quick pick-me-up.
That's so interesting. It's like they're saying, don't just tell me, like, chocolate make me feel your connection to it.
Yeah.
What do you think that reveals about what they're looking for beyond just language skills?
Well, I think it speaks to the power of storytelling and personal connection.
Yeah.
Even in a formal setting like an exam, being able to express your experiences in a vivid, engaging way
Mm-hmm.
is incredibly valuable.
So it's not just about knowing the words, it's about knowing how to use them to paint a picture and draw the listener in. And IELTS podcast kept coming back to this idea of chocolate being tied to personal memories,
Yeah.
especially childhood ones. Do you think there's something inherently nostalgic about chocolate?
I mean, think about it. Birthdays,
Yeah.
rewards for good behavior.
Yeah.
Chocolate is often woven into those happy milestones, especially when we're kids.
Right?
Like our brains just link chocolate to those carefree, joyful moments.
So it's more than just a sweet taste, it's a taste of happiness. A
Mm,
mini time machine back to simpler times.
that's a great way to put it.
Makes sense that it would come up so often in conversations.
Yeah.
It's almost like a shared language of positive memories.
Exactly. A shared language that kind of transcends cultures, too.
Right.
The IELTS podcast mentions chocolate being popular during festivals like Diwali and Christmas,
Yeah.
but it goes beyond that.
Oh, definitely.
There are so many examples of chocolate being part of celebrations around the world.
Mm-hmm.
Does that suggest something universal about the way we see chocolate? Like a symbol of happiness or togetherness?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, for sure.
Okay.
There are so many examples of chocolate being a part of celebrations around the world.
Yeah, like in Japan, Valentine's Day involves women giving chocolates to men as a gesture of affection.
That's right. I've heard about that tradition. It's so different from how Valentine's Day is celebrated in other parts of the world.
Uh-huh.
But the chocolate remains a symbol of love and connection.
Exactly. And this connects back to the IELTS podcast's focus on personal experience.
Okay.
Whether it's a childhood memory, a cultural tradition,
Mm-hmm.
or a simple moment of indulgence.
Yeah.
Chocolate seems to have this unique ability to tap into our emotions
Right.
and create a sense of shared experience.
A shared experience that is delicious
Exactly.
and brings up all sorts of different things for different people,
For sure.
which is what we're going to continue to explore in this episode.
Can't wait.
Okay, so we've talked about how chocolate connects to personal memories
Right.
and plays a role in celebrations like Diwali and Christmas. Yeah.
But I'm curious to dig deeper into how other cultures use chocolate in their festivities.
Well, one really captivating example comes from Mexico.
Cool.
Chocolate has a special place in the celebration of Dia de Muertos,
Dia de Muertos.
or Day of the Dead.
That's the holiday where families honor their deceased loved ones.
Right. I've seen pictures of those amazing altars.
Exactly. Those altars called ofrendas are adorned with offerings for the spirits of the departed.
Okay.
Food, drinks, personal mementos,
Mm-hmm.
and chocolate is a staple offering, often in the form of traditional Mexican hot chocolate or intricately decorated skulls and skeletons.
So it's not just about remembering, it's about sharing something special with those who have passed on.
Yeah,
That's beautiful.
it is. The belief is that the spirits can enjoy the essence of the offerings.
Mm.
and chocolate with its rich aroma and flavor is thought to be particularly appealing to them.
It's almost like sharing a cup of hot chocolate with someone you love,
Right.
even if they're not physically present.
Hmm?
Makes you think about how food and drink can bridge that gap between the living and the departed.
Absolutely. And this theme of connection extends to other cultural celebrations as well.
Okay.
Take Easter, for example.
Yeah.
In many European countries, chocolate plays a huge role.
Oh, for sure. Chocolate Easter bunnies and eggs are everywhere this time of year. But I've never really thought about the symbolism behind them.
Well, the egg is a universal symbol of new life and rebirth, which ties in perfectly with the themes of Easter.
Right.
And the rabbit, often associated with fertility and abundance, adds another layer of meaning.
So those seemingly simple chocolate treats carry a lot of cultural weight. They're not just cute and delicious. They actually represent something deeper.
Exactly. They become tangible representations of the values and beliefs associated with the holiday.
With all this talk about celebration and tradition, it makes me wonder about the link between chocolate and happiness. I mean, we talked about serotonin, but could there be something more to it
Right.
beyond just a chemical reaction?
That's a great question. It's hard to prove the direct causal link, but there's definitely a strong correlation.
Okay.
As we've been discussing, chocolate often features in moments of joy, celebration, and reward. Those positive associations can create a powerful psychological link in our minds.
So it's like a positive feedback loop. We associate chocolate with happy times, so eating it makes us happy,
Yeah.
which strengthens that association. But does that mean the specific type of chocolate matters? Like if your happiest childhood memories involve cheap milk chocolate, does that mean fancy dark chocolate won't have the same effect?
That's a fascinating thought. It gets into how specific our memory triggers are.
Yeah.
Maybe for some people, it eyes about that exact taste and texture.
Right.
But for others, it could be more about the ritual, the act of indulging, regardless of the type of chocolate.
That makes me think about my own experiences. For me, it's the smell of baking chocolate that really takes me back.
Oh, wow.
My grandma used to bake the most amazing chocolate chip cookies. And just the aroma of chocolate now floods me with memories of her kitchen. It's not about a specific brand or type.
Yeah.
It's that sensory experience that triggers the emotion.
That's a perfect example of how powerful those sensory associations can be.
Yeah.
It's not just the taste, it's the smell, the texture, even the visual cues that can transport us back to a specific time and place.
Okay, so we've covered the emotional and cultural aspects of chocolate.
Right.
But let's get a bit more technical. We've been talking about chocolate in a general sense, but what about the different types of chocolate?
Okay.
What makes them unique? I mean, we all know milk chocolate, dark chocolate, and white chocolate taste different, but why is that?
That's a great question, and it takes us to the heart of what chocolate actually is.
Okay.
All chocolate starts with the cacao bean, the seed of the cacao tree.
Mm-hmm.
These beans are roasted, ground, and processed to create a paste called chocolate liquor.
Chocolate liquor.
Now, this liquor contains both cocoa solids and cocoa butter, the two key components of chocolate. And the different types of chocolate we enjoy are created by varying the proportions of these components and adding other ingredients.
Okay, so if all chocolate comes from the same basic ingredients, how do we end up with such different flavors and textures?
Yeah.
It's almost like magic.
It's not magic, but it is pretty ingenious. Let's start with milk chocolate, probably the most popular type worldwide.
Okay.
Milk chocolate usually contains a lower percentage of cocoa solids, around 10% to 40%,
Okay.
and a higher percentage of sugar. But what really defines milk chocolate is the addition of milk solids. This gives it that creamy texture and a milder, sweeter flavor.
That explains why milk chocolate often has that smooth, melt-in-your-mouth quality.
Exactly. Now let's move on to dark chocolate, a favorite for those who prefer a more intense flavor.
Okay.
Dark chocolate boasts a higher percentage of cocoa solids, ranging from 30% to over 80%.
Wow.
And the higher the percentage, the more intense and slightly bitter the flavor.
Interesting.
Dark chocolate usually has less sugar than milk chocolate and typically doesn't contain any milk solids.
So the intensity of that chocolate flavor comes directly from the concentration of cocoa solids. It's almost like comparing a shot of espresso to a latte, right? One is strong and bold, the other is smoother and sweeter.
I like that analogy. And that intensity is what gives dark chocolate its complex flavor profile.
Okay.
Often described as rich, bittersweet, with hints of fruit or spice, depending on the origin of the beans.
Now, what about white chocolate? Is it even really chocolate?
That's a question that often sparks debate.
Yeah, it always feels a bit like the odd one out.
Technically, white chocolate doesn't contain any cocoa solids at all.
Really?
It's made from cocoa butter, sugar, milk solids, and often vanilla for flavor.
So it gets that creamy, sweet flavor from the cocoa butter.
Exactly. Cocoa butter has a subtle, delicate flavor that contributes to the overall taste.
Okay.
But because white chocolate lacks those cocoa solids, some people argue that it shouldn't be considered true chocolate. It's like the difference between a dish made with real vanilla extract and one made with imitation vanilla flavoring. They might both taste sweet, but the real deal has a depth and complexity that the imitation just can't replicate.
That's a great analogy. I can see why some chocolate purists might turn their noses up at white chocolate.
Yeah.
So to sum it up, the percentage of cocoa solids, the presence or absence of milk solids, and the addition of other ingredients are what give us all these distinct flavors we associate with different types of chocolate.
Precisely. And speaking of other ingredients, there's a whole world of flavor possibilities when it comes to what we call inclusions.
Inclusions, is that like the nuts, fruits, and other yummy things we find mixed into chocolate?
Exactly. Inclusions can be anything from nuts and dried fruits to spices, coffee beans, even sea salt.
Wow.
They add layers of flavor complexity, textural contrast, and even visual appeal. Think about a dark chocolate bar studded with crunchy roasted almonds.
Oh, yeah.
Or a milk chocolate truffle filled with a smooth caramel center.
Okay, I need a snack break after this episode. We've gone from childhood nostalgia to cultural celebrations to the science of cocoa solids. And now I'm craving all sorts of chocolate creations.
Me too.
Yeah.
But before we give into those cravings,
Right.
I think it's important to acknowledge that there's another side to the chocolate industry, one that's not so sweet.
You're right. We've been focusing on the positive aspects of chocolate, but there are social and environmental challenges that need to be addressed.
Exactly. While we're enjoying these delicious treats,
Yeah.
it's crucial to be mindful of the impact our chocolate consumption has on the people who grow and harvest the cacao beans.
Right.
And on the environment where those beans are grown.
So you're saying there's a side to chocolate production that's not so sweet?
Yeah.
I have to admit, I've heard about issues like deforestation and child labor, but I don't know much about the specifics.
It's definitely a complex issue.
Okay.
A significant portion of the world's cocoa is grown in West Africa,
Okay.
particularly Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana. These regions face challenges like poverty and limited access to education,
Right.
creating a system where workers can be vulnerable to exploitation.
That's really disheartening. What are some of the specific challenges that cocoa farmers in these regions face?
Now, many cocoa farmers operate on small family farms
Okay.
with limited resources and often struggle to earn a living wage due to fluctuating cocoa prices.
Right.
This makes them susceptible to exploitation by middlemen and large corporations.
So they're trapped in a cycle of poverty that's hard to break free from.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that economic vulnerability can unfortunately lead to things like child labor.
Right.
It's a complex issue with many factors at play.
It's a harsh reality check. We think of chocolate as this happy celebratory treat.
Yeah.
But there's a human cost behind it that we often don't see.
It's true.
Yeah.
And beyond the social impact, there's also the environmental side to consider.
Right.
Deforestation is a major concern.
Oh.
The demand for cocoa has driven the clearing of forests to make way for plantations, which leads to habitat loss and soil degradation.
So our love for chocolate is actually contributing to environmental damage.
Unfortunately, yes. It's a tough reality to face. But the good news is that there's growing awareness of these challenges,
Oh,
and
yeah.
people are working on solutions.
That's encouraging to hear. What kind of solutions are being explored?
Well, one approach is fair trade certification.
Okay.
This ensures that farmers get a fair price for their cocoa beans,
Right.
and that certain labor standards are met.
So choosing fair trade chocolate is one way consumers can help.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There are also initiatives promoting agroforestry, where cocoa trees are grown alongside other crops,
Right.
which is better for the environment and provides farmers with additional income.
That sounds like a win-win. It's great to know that there are ways to make more ethical and sustainable choices when it comes to chocolate.
It really is. By supporting companies that prioritize these practices,
Yeah,
we can make a difference. Every purchase is a vote,
that's true.
and we can use our purchasing power to encourage positive change.
I think a lot of people would be surprised to learn just how much goes into producing the chocolate we enjoy. It's not just about taste and indulgence.
Yeah.
There are real people and ecosystems involved.
It's been a fascinating deep dive, hasn't it?
Yeah, it really has.
We've explored the history, the science, the cultural significance, and even the darker side of chocolate production.
It's amazing how much we've uncovered about something that might seem so simple at first glance.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of taking a deep dive.
Right.
It allows us to appreciate the complexity and interconnectedness of the world around us.
Well said. So as we wrap up our exploration of chocolate,
Yeah.
I'm left thinking about the power of conscious consumption.
Mm,
We've talked about how chocolate evokes memories and connects us to loved ones,
right.
but perhaps the most important connection is the one we make with ourselves,
Yeah,
when we make informed choices about the products we support.
that's a powerful thought. Every bite is a choice, and every choice has the power to shape the world around us.
Exactly. So next time you reach for that chocolate bar,
Okay.
take a moment to consider its journey from the bean to the bar. Right.
Think about the farmers who grew the cocoa, the communities they live in, and the impact your choice has on the planet. It's a small but significant step towards a sweeter future for everyone.